we are looking at two form of clutch system. This system right here is what we call the coil spring system, and if you look closely right here, you actually see a coil spring. And this is normally used for heavy duty unit vehicle. All right, heavy duty unit vehicle. If we should look at this system right here, this system is what you will mostly interface with in the light duty world. And this is very common. This is what we call a diaphragm spring type pressure plate. Diaphragm spring type pressure plate. And if it is assembled on the vehicle, we'll have our pressure plate, we'll have our clutch disc, and then we'll have our flywheel. It's the same thing for the coil spring. We'll have our pressure plate, we'll have our clutch disc, and we'll have our flywheel. On both flywheels, you can see that the gear that the starter motor mesh with, they are intact. If we want to remove this gear, we'll have to just hot right here, hot around the ring, and then we can knock it off and put it in back. And oftentimes this gear might require to change because the starter motor pinion gear make contact with this ring gear and it become damaged. All right, so the question is now, how do we evaluate our clutch component? I'm just going to evaluate the diaphragm spring type because since we are doing light motor vehicle technology, and this is a type of clutch system you'll interface with, not with the coil spring, which is for heavy duty. So first, we have the pressure plate right here. And then when we look on the fin of the pressure plate, if we should look right here, we can see feel a small indentation. If we have a large indentation on this fin right here, that means we have a defective throat bearings. Come, let me show you what the throat bearings look like when it is in the gearbox. Here is the throat bearings. It actually moves back and forth. Right here, the throat bearings. So this throat bearings is what make contact with the pressure plate diaphragm spring. So here we have the pressure plate, and right here on the diaphragm spring, it have a small indentation. So that means the throwout bearings is slightly defective. When a throwout bearing is defective, whenever you press the clutch pedal, you hear a grinding sound. And you also feel excessive vibration. You can feel the vibration sometimes in the pedal, and you can feel excessive vibration around the clutch housing if you should be close by, if you beg somebody to press it for you. All right? Here is the pressure plate cover, look fairly intact. All right here now, the surface of this pressure plate. What are we looking for? As you can see, this pressure plate here is slightly marred. There are some rough spots. It's not supposed to look like this. It's supposed to be smooth and pretty. It's supposed to be smooth and pretty. If we should look on this heavy duty pressure plate and the coil spring pressure plate, this pressure plate, although it rusty, it look a bit more smoother. All right? So, this pressure plate have some form kind of marring, imperfection. We can also look for crack. We can also look for hot spot. But based what I'm seeing, the condition with this pressure plate right here, it is not smooth. Let me a pressure plate over there, let me see. No, we don't have any pressure plate over there. No, sir. All right. So this pressure plate right here, it could not be used. Probably it could be slightly polished or you slightly rub it down with sandpaper, because when you have a rough pressure plate surface like this, what will happen that when you get a new clutch disc, which is this component, when you get a new clutch disc, the wear pattern of right here will go into your new clutch disc, and it will cause premature wearing of your clutch disc. So this pressure plate would have to go through slightly finishing. The other thing that we can do, we can check this pressure plate here. This is for academic purpose because we hardly do that in the field. It's for warpage. So of course we can check it for warpage with our square. It is not warped, but this is hardly done in the field. This is hardly done in the field. All right, but based on visual inspection, I will not use back this pressure plate. And in most cases, when we are purchasing a clutch kit, we normally get the pressure plate, the clutch disc, the throwout bearings. So the key thing you need to pay attention to is the flywheel, but we don't reach it yet. But looking at this pressure plate, the surface right here is rough. All right. Let us look now on this clutch disc. The obvious thing we are looking at on this clutch disc is a friction lining material, which is right here. And this friction lining material is where, because if we should look where the rivet is, the eye point of the rivet, if we should look where this rivet is, as you can see, the rivet, this friction line material is wear down to the rivet. It does not have a high meat level. You see it? It wear down to the rivet. A matter of fact, where the rivet shine, it seemed like it was partially making contact with the pressure plate. Do not move. If we should look on this friction lining material, we can see the big difference. You see how deep this is? You see the big difference? You see how deep this is? So this friction lining material still have a lot of meat on it compared to this one right here. So looking at this on first glance, the friction lining material is worn. All right, other things that we need to look on other than the friction lining material, we need to look on the hub. So we are inspecting this hub and we don't see any damage within the hub. And the spline look good. The next thing we are looking on the torsion spring. These torsion springs are not broken. They are in good condition. So the only issue we have with this clutch disc right here is that the friction lining material is worn. And in some part of the world, when a friction lining material worn, you can carry it to the shop and then just change the friction lining material and you're good to go again. So from this clutch evaluation perspective, we'll change the pressure plate because roughness and worn. We'll change the clutch disc because it is worn, the friction lining material is worn. Let us look now on the flywheel. If we should look on the surface of this flywheel, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Surface is fairly good. So this here requires some sandpaper to just deglaze it to ensure it seats properly. So the mating surface of the flywheel, it's not bad. Let us look now on the ring area of this flywheel. And I'm not seeing any broken rings, any chip rings, any crack rings. So for the most part, the ring is excellent. The surface here is excellent. Around the bolt area, these places tend to be cracked sometimes, because you know so where bolt is the weakest link. We don't see any crack right here, that is good. And we don't see any around this side. What we are seeing is the really marking and dimension. So far. So based on what we are seeing, the evaluation of this clutch disc is defective from a pressure plate plus perspective, from a pressure plate perspective, from a clutch disc perspective. So would require this to change. And I will also change the throwout bearings because of the small indentation I see right here. So that is basically a clutch kit. In this case, I could easily just use a sandpaper and get off the friction, the old wear pattern, so your clutch does don't experience a premature wear. So in our next video, we'll go into the procedure how to reassemble the flywheel, the clutch disc, the pressure plate onto the engine using the correct method. Thanks.